and these gangsters were beginning to see hip-hop as a legit hustle that they could muscle into. A lot safer than trying to beat the feds at the drug game. When that so-called East Coast versus West Coast war broke out, the situation was troubling for me on a lot of levels. Because I was the first artist to rep the West who'd come out and build with the best of the New York cats. Because I'd been down with the Zulu Nation and created my own rhyme syndicate, telling the hip-hop community, let's all do this. Let's all get paid. The pie is big enough. All of us can eat. Even though it's common to see it still written up as such, there never was an East Coast versus West Coast war. I never had a beef with the East Coast. It was just a hyped-up beef between two companies, Bad Boy and Death Row, between Puffy and Suge. But Suge never represented all of us on the West, and Puffy never represented all of the East. Long before the shit started getting violent, when it was still basically a war of words on wax and in the hip-hop magazines, I was asked about it in an interview. I wish they would just squash it, I said, because they got power. And if they connect, it's on. We'll have a real black hip-hop power base. If they connected, maybe they could be the basis for a new Motown-like label for hip-hop. How could a kid from Compton dislike a kid from Brooklyn? They don't even know each other. But the situation was already too heated, and I was probably too idealistic in thinking that Suge and Puffy could shake hands, link their two ventures, and start building an even bigger empire together. Pac and I were close friends. I've known Pac since he was carrying record crates, down with Digital Underground. I got to work with Pac on Last Words, which was a track with Pac, Cube, and me on the Tupacalypse Now album. Roseanne Barr used to have a sketch comedy show on Fox called Saturday Night Special. Pac and I guest hosted the show one night. We didn't have any idea what we were going to do, if we were going to rap or act or whatever. For one of the skits, we sang, "You Don't Bring Me Flowers." It was a crazy-ass idea, and neither one of us would have done it alone. But because both of us were there, and because we had a lot of mutual respect, we said, okay, let's go for the joke. I wasn't worried about looking stupid, because Pac was in it. He wasn't worried about looking stupid, because Ice was in it. Pac was cracking up the whole time, but I would not smile. I was singing my ass off, wearing a fedora and shades. I was trying to be the consummate professional and do it the way they wrote it. That was a great moment, and it's the way I like to remember Pac. That was a side of him a lot of people didn't get to see. I knew it. Tupac was a great guy, hilarious, a fun cat. I know the flip side of almost all these hard-as-hell rappers. There's a flip side to a lot of folks. You can't judge any of us entertainers by our stage personas. People meet me today and they are scared as shit. They don't know I tell jokes and laugh just like any other normal cat. Pac came to me when he was just starting to beef with Biggie. He was on some wild shit, riled up beyond words. He played me his record, Hit 'Em Up, in my studio. I think I was one of the first people to hear it. Right off the bat, he was coming at Big so hard. That's why I fucked your bitch, you fat motherfucker. When a dude comes and plays you a record he hasn't even released, you're supposed to be happy, congratulating him, giving him a pound. But I was like, this is gonna cause a problem. Homie, this is gonna spiral into something bigger, you know? I was older, and I told him straight up, why don't you go knock on Biggie's door and handle it? Just go figure this shit out man to man. Why are you writing records? He didn't want to hear it. He was hot-headed at the time. His group, the Outlaws, was with him in the room, and they were all buck wild and co-signing the drama. Tupac actually got kind of angry that I wouldn't ride with him. You know, I was a West Coast OG, so I was supposed to ride with him on that beef. He was pissed, but he respected the big homie. He felt like I should have been more amped up about shit. But I was looking at the big picture, and it turned out to be fatal. I do that all the time. Whenever there's conflict, I try to think through the consequences 3 or 4 steps ahead, like in chess. Honestly, I didn't expect the final result to be that tragic. 2 of our best young talents murdered while in their prime. But once I heard that track, Hit 'Em Up, I knew it wasn't going to end well. The mood in the street was so ugly, so hopeless, and dudes were scared there would be retaliation and escalation. I saw my role as stepping into the breach as a G and acting as a mediator. When Biggie was shot in L.A., I immediately called into Hot 97 in New York, offering my condolences to Biggie's family. I reminded the listeners that I'd always been one of the artists who worked with cats from both coasts, from New York and Cali. And I wasn't about to let the media distort shit to blow up this personal rivalry, essentially a beef between two record labels, into some kind of East Coast versus West Coast war. I got on the radio and said, yo, let's not start this rumor that East and West Coast got beef. I love Biggie, and I know a gang of people in L.A. that love Biggie. It still hurts me that Big was murdered in L.A. You can't come from Los Angeles and not have the daily violence, the unsolved drive-by shootings, and the intergenerational gang situation weigh heavily on you. The thing of it is, fuck the rap music. As a person, you're going to have certain things that matter to you. No bullshit. I can't count the number of my friends who got killed out in the street. I once dropped a rhyme that said, I don't hate white people. That's a well-known fact. 'Cause all of my homies got killed by blacks. My career is so intrinsically tied to gangbanging, the songs I've made, the life I've depicted. As artists and celebrities, people are always urging us to give back. What's the best way for me to give back? That was a question I ruminated over in my mind for a long time. In the wake of the Rodney King verdicts after the riots that tore L.A. apart in 1992, an unprecedented truce was called between long-warring gangs. Understand, I had nothing to do with setting the gang truce off. The gang truce jumped off between Imperial Courts and the Bounty Hunters, two projects right next door to each other in Watts. They'd been lifetime enemies, and in the aftermath of the riots, they decided to forge a truce. It was an organic thing. It couldn't have come from any outsiders. The Bounty Hunters and Imperial Court's shot callers had to initiate it. The truce was groundbreaking. That energy just rippled like aftershocks throughout the city. Dudes all around the city started talking about a peace treaty. 'Cause, or blood, it don't matter, yo. We gotta stop this murder and insanity. The impetus came from all the first-generation gang members. Now, a first-generation gang member would be my age, at most a few years older. The thing about gangbanging is, it's all good when you're a kid, because you ain't thinking about the consequences or ramifications of all the dirt you're doing. But when you have children and they become teenagers, then you start to see your kids cycling back into it. You watch that happening, powerless, and that's when it starts to hurt you. We've now passed the second generation and are onto a third generation. And a lot of the first-generation gangbangers, the OGs, are coming home after long bids. A lot of them have had a change of heart. They've realized that the whole gang culture is negative, something they'd like to stop. Actually, at the OG level across L.A., most of the brothers do want peace. The problem is getting that message down to the youngsters. The youngsters want reputations like the OGs got. They want the respect the OGs got. And as I said, gangbanging is fundamentally based on murder. How are you going to tell some young brother to forgive another gangster who killed his uncle, or his best friend, or his father? How are you going to tell him to sit down and make a truce with guys he's sworn to take vengeance against? These young brothers are in it for life. Gangbanging ain't like a club that you can leave whenever you want. This is some real blood war shit. When the truce in 92 jumped off, I connected with one of my boys named Malik Spellman. He asked me to go down into Watts with him. I'm not from Watts, but I was well received. The brothers in Watts gave me love, and I connected to the gangsters down there. A brother named Tony Bogard from the Imperial Courts. A brother named Ty Stick out of the Bounty Hunters. We made a song and video called Got a Lot of Love. The video was shot at the start of the truce. In the lyrics, I just threw my excitement out there. I never thought I'd live to see us chill, Crips and Bloods holding hands. The shit is ill. But I love it. I can't help it. Too much death on the streets, and we dealt it. Van Ness boys, the Hoovers, the 60s. bounty hunters, 8 trays, all cooling out, G. I pray this shit'll never stop. You used to see the wrong colors and the gats went pop, pop. But now the kids got a chance to live. And the OGs got something to give. That's love. Black on black. That's how they made it. And if any busters flip, they get faded. L.A. is where I'm speaking of. Peace to all the gangsters. 'Cause I got a lot of love. A lot of other rappers were uncomfortable having their faces so closely associated with the gangs. But everyone knows my get down. I honestly have no fear. Of course, I'm afraid of disease and shit like that. But I'm not afraid of confrontations with people. My attitude going into neighborhoods that were foreign to me, the imperial courts and bounty hunters' turf, was, okay, I know you're legit tough guys, but what are you gonna do? You gonna rob me? Here's my watch. You gonna kill me? For what? Did I do something to you? You gonna kill me just because you're jealous? See, if I didn't give you any reason to kill me, then why should I have fear? It only takes 6 ounces of pressure. Any 13-year-old can kill you. If I'm out there doing dirt, if I'm committing crimes, if I'm crossing other individuals, then maybe I have chosen to live in fear. But I'm not doing that anymore, and I haven't lived like that in years. So I told my man Malik, fuck it, let's do this. Let's go to the hood. I was at as many meetings as I could be. Snoop Dogg got down with us too, and as the peace treaty started to grow, me and Snoop became an integral part of, at least the public face of, the truce in L.A. The high water mark was this one massive gang summit at the Best Western on Century Boulevard. That meet was unprecedented. Gang representatives from all hoods were there. All the biggest shot callers. All the baddest Bloods and Crips, the ones not behind bars, who controlled the projects and streets. When it came my time to speak, I got up in front and told them that the answers were economic. We could police our own neighborhoods, but we needed help to create jobs and opportunities for the kids before they were already initiated into the gang life. Dig, ain't no way you're gonna win a gang war, I said. Y'all are gonna end up dead or in the penitentiary for life. Why are we doing it then if there ain't never gonna be a winner? Fast forward. The truce is dead. 17 long years have passed. Gang warfare rules the streets again. Murder and retaliation every fucking day. The gang violence in L.A. is more entrenched than ever before. If you're an outsider, you have to look at L.A. like it's a checkerboard. Take the aerial view. Every single one of those squares has its own different gang war going on within it. Not Crips, Bloods. These wars are way more specific. It's the 40s against the 40 Avalons. It's the Manfields versus the Playboy gangsters. These are all Crips sets. The bloodshed happens within about 8 square blocks. Bloods fight each other too. It's just whoever your closest neighbor is and who the fuck you've got a problem with. Then you got thousands and thousands of Mexican gangsters, and they go to war with each other constantly. I had done some work with the TV series Gangland, which airs on the History Channel and tries to give insight into America's gangs, black, white, Asian, and Latino. In fact, I'm the voiceover that comes on right at the start. No disrespect to Gangland, but I feel like it tends to glamorize the violence. It gives the bangers the chance to yell and posture. At the end, the gangster is usually saying, "Don't do what I did," or "Damn, I threw the best years of my life away for nothing." But for me, it doesn't really humanize the gang member.